welcome to the bonus stage, sponsored by Premium Edition Games and here at the Dogcast.
Dylan's got it.
Yeah, he nailed it.
I did it. You know, I usually don't host. This is the part that's like crazy. I can never remember key phrases. It's just something about my ADD brain. So, so it's actually, yeah. I'm glad I got it.
Well, it's a good thing we're talking about board games now because if something can keep your ADD brain occupied, it most certainly is a board game.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't play a lot of them. That's why we have our special guest here.
Who are you?
Hey, I'm Jamey from the Milwaukee Company of Gamers, and I play a lot of board games.
Hey, Jamey.
Excellent.
We got who over here?
We've got me. It's Dylan. I'm a normal podcaster on here at the Dogcast.
And my name is Dominic, and I'm also a fairly regular host of Hair of the Dogcast, a podcast about beer and video games and beer. But today we are talking about something a little bit different.
Yep.
Which is board games,
and beer.
Yes, board games and beer. As you can see, we're all up here with our drink of choice. Hopefully you guys are out there joining us, and if not, hopefully you're enjoying the good food. Let's talk about some board games.
You know, it's probably easier to play board games and drink beer than play video games and drink beer.
That is correct.
I'm not so sure. It depends on what you're playing.
You can't play Smash Brothers and drink beer at the same time, unless you have a really long straw.
I think I've proven you wrong a few times. You know those hats?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's easy.
I think
I've
those
got
were
like 5.
invented in Milwaukee.
Were they really?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, so mass market availability.
Ah, yeah. So 10 or 12 years ago or so, there wasn't a lot of really good board games in the mass market area. If you went to Target or Walmart, you really weren't getting a good quality game that was fun to play. Things have changed. Nowadays, you can go to Target and get a lot of really good, easy-to-play games that people enjoy playing on an entry level.
Actually, Target is where I go to get my games.
Oh, yeah?
Funny enough, yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there.
They've got a whole long wall right past the toy section. I notice it every single time.
I actually just the other day picked up a new version of like Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, really?
Called Kids Against Maturity. And honestly, I think it's better. It might just be because it's new jokes or whatever, but it's...
What is it, like boogers?
Yeah, it's more of our humor.
Boogers.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So I played it with my mom, and it was just fun for me and my brother while we were playing it to have her say silly things like Lake Titicaca.
Oh, yeah.
Your mom was Beavis?
Yes.
That's priceless.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with one pretty basic question here, and that is, what is the raw general appeal of board games to you?
It's the actual social interaction you get.
Sure.
That you don't get across the screen.
Right.
There's a big fad nowadays, too, of playing board games online, and to be honest, I kind of don't get it, because a lot of the thing is the social interaction for me and what my group does.
What kind of games online?
A lot of the board games nowadays are ported over to online platforms that you can play.
Oh, so it's like video poker, or
yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Oh, it is about the social interaction of it.
If you're gonna play online, you might as well play a video game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because then I don't have to see the face of a person I shot.
There is something about playing just a basic game, like chess with a person rather than against an AI.
It's all about like the energy in the room. I feel I prefer couch co-op over like even like a chat, because it just feels all that much better.
So you like, the board game environment works good for you then too with the couch co-op video game. I get that. You're like doing Call of Duty zombie levels and stuff, right?
Well, to be fair, I have played a couple of these games, but I've never really bought them for myself or tried to set up a game myself. It's always something I fall into.
Okay.
I'm never the instigator, which is why I'm curious. How do you plan it and get people involved? Now, I'm the worst social planner on earth, so I couldn't. But you have an organization, right? Can you tell me a little bit about it?
So, to answer your question, you start out with something that has a lot of appeal.
Sure.
A big mistake a lot of gamers make is they'll start out with a very complicated, long arduous game that by the second page of the rule book, you can see the new gamer's eyes just kind of glaze over and they're gone and lost. Nowadays, there's so many good games that are fun to play, but also easy to play. So that's a really key component of just picking a playable game for people who aren't really into it yet.
Maybe it's a bit too soon to talk about it, but what is like the hottest game based on accessibility?
Ticket to Ride is the king of the gateway games.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, Ticket to Ride is. I never want to think I want to play it, and every time we play it, I have a good time playing it. Anyone can play Ticket to Ride if it's an easy, simple set collection game. You know, you can get it out at Christmas and Grandma can play it, but you get 3 dudes with some beers in them, and you can trash talk over it too. It's really a fantastic game in that way.
Yeah, you know, it's so weird. Xbox Game Pass actually had Ticket to Ride virtually.
It's online now. See?
It's online now too, and I guess it's off it now. But I never even started playing it. It's still there. It's hanging out. I don't know if it's still on it, but it's just so hard to assemble people. You know, that's my biggest barrier to entry.
Don't you have beer? That's how I assemble people.
Now, see, the other guys, they're the ones with the good stuff. If you want to come over to Dylan's house, sleaze it up, drink some hams, that's perfectly okay too. I'll provide. I'm a good host.
Yeah, that's good. I'm a PBR guy myself a lot, so I could drink some hams. I'll slum it with some hams. Time and a place.
Right.
It's time and a place.
Right. I'm also a kind of a Blatz guy too, you know? It's just how it kind of has to work.
So typically, how long does Ticket to Ride take to play, where then you can convince somebody into coming over to your house all the time to play something that would take as long as like a D&D type of game?
So Ticket to Ride you can play in 45 minutes if you're not fooling around. But if you play like we play slow. We talk, we drink, we eat food. Mm-hmm. So our play times are always double.
Right.
Now I think that actually helps add to the person wanting to come back and play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you say, oh, we played games for 2 hours, it was one game, well, it didn't feel like 2 hours. Mm-hmm. As opposed to the game that takes 2 hours and you were grinding it out, that felt like 4 hours. So yeah, you can play Ticket to Ride in 45 minutes to an hour, and they have a good time, and then you can, slowly ratchet it up before you hit the next super big level of a game, Okay. The next gateway game, a Zularetto or a set collection game, something that takes an hour and a half, and ease them into it instead of throwing out a big game right away at them.
So, would you say that most of the games that are out now are about facing down each other or acting cooperatively? Because I have one of the few board games I actually do have is the Choose Your Own Adventure, it's not the Haunted Mansion, it's just like the scary house on the hill or something like that.
I know which one you're talking about.
It's absolutely fantastic. We actually, very cleverly, there was a bar called Oak and Shield, if you remember, over on the east side, I would say. And there was a situation, or they had like an event where they would bring people in and they had a beer tasting menu based on the decisions you made as you went along within the game.
That's clever.
And it turned me onto this game so much, my ex actually bought it for me. And I tried to set that up myself. And then we just ended up playing, getting drunk on wine. It didn't matter what the choices were, but it was still really cool. That's a game where you can actually bring other people into it. It's supposed to be played 2-player, but you can bring others into it, kind of have fun making those decisions. What are the good cooperative games that are out right now?
Yeah, that's a good point. A way to get people into games is also not trying to beat them constantly. It's trying to play with them. And now there's more cooperative games than ever. That genre of game has really taken off. Pandemic is probably the king of your cooperative games. You can get that at Target too. It's about
too fresh, dude.
Yeah, sorry.
Still too soon. Too soon. Where's my mask?
I got my wristband on. I'm good.
I'm vaxxed too. Don't worry.
Yeah, cooperative games is a really good area to start if you're trying to get people to come and play games, because no one wants to be beat, especially if you're new and you're the only guy who knows the rules and you get invited over and get your pants beat off.
Listen, I played Magic the Gathering in high school with borrowed decks. I know what it's like to lose, and it's not fun at all whatsoever. I like the sense of community though. Like I played it's one where you're entering a house and you're a bunch of cast of characters and you're trying to find the clues. There's like time warping. Are you familiar with this one?
I don't think so.
It's not like Arkham Horror. It's someone out there is wanting to strangle me. I just know that right now. But it was great. I made up a character. It's a bass character. I called him Peaches the Hobo. He loved to play the banjo. It was excellent. We never finished the game, though, because those games take 4 hours or longer to beat.
Yeah.
Those are like commitments where you keep the table up and you have to go into it. I guess the question here is accessibility. What are some of the more accessible games that you could spend a night playing? Not like Ticket to Ride, where it's like 45 minutes or longer, like to an hour. But what about ones that are like 2 hours or 2.5 hours? Something the length of a, say, podcast.
Well, it's easier to look at the mechanics that make up a game, I think, to decide how long it is. There's something called Euro mechanics, where most of the game's rules come down to, on your turn, you can do one of three things. You can do this, this, or this. And the strategy in the game lies within the effects of your choices, not the number of choices themselves. So generally, you can kind of gauge how long a game is going to take based on how they adhere to those rules.
Sure.
The simpler the rule set, obviously, the shorter the game generally tends to be, and easier it is to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And the more open the strategy feels too. That's kind of the way I just look at it. It's easier to do those games with newer people. Once you explain it, you're off and running. It's easy to do. And if they're good with those games, that's fine. Now, don't try to be a game pusher that's like, now I got a game that takes 4 hours. Now we can set up Arkham Horror.
Right.
You might not get those people back then. It's a big thing in gamers where we're super competitive. So everyone wants to play the newest, hottest game that takes 6 hours. Look what I just got. They call it Cult of the New. I just got this. We're not going to play what we used to play. Now we're playing this.
Right.
The next week, the guy comes over. Now I got this. I'm going to play this. And there's this constant bombardment of new games that take 4 hours to play. It just burns people out, I think. Especially, it's not a welcoming environment at all.
It's like hard sci-fi. It's like Robert Heinlein versus reading something. Like, what's an easy reading sci-fi book?
Ender's Game.
There you go. Yeah.
My question to you is, when you do go to your targets, or if anybody is interested in going to the back corner and checking out your guys' booth to rent a game out for an hour or whatever.
Or even the booth that's behind us right now, they're
Right.
doing 50% off these games.
Right.
And they're still in great quality condition.
How do you, I guess, judge the book by its cover?
That's pretty hard to do, honestly.
Yeah.
It is. That's why groups like ours are really well at what we do. Go back there and talk to Heath or Chad, and they will. All you got to do is tell them they'll say, "What do you like?" And you tell them what you like, and they will pick a game for you to try.
Cool.
Wow.
And that's a really good way to learn how to do this stuff. That's why we do what we do. We take recommendations. We give recommendations to people based on what they like and their skill level. And that sure does beat going to the store and buying a game and not liking it.
Yeah, not knowing what you're getting into.
Or you like it and your spouse or significant other doesn't like it, which is the same thing as not liking it, at the end of the day. Some people like a lot of interactivity. I think in a gateway game, that's good. You want some interactivity to where it's not just you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, and you're doing your thing, and whoever does it the best wins. Some games where we can affect each other, but not too much too, because then it's conflict.
Right.
So, I assume you've been doing this a long time. Where did this passion actually start for you?
So when I was a little kid, I grew up kind of in the country, in the middle of nowhere, and it wasn't really a fun childhood. There was nothing to do, and I got into Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm that age when it first came out, and it was a good escape.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I wouldn't be the same person today. I don't want to say it saved my life or anything like that, but I wouldn't be the same person I am today if it wasn't for those times when I could escape and get away from some of the crappier elements of my life. And as I got older, I realized I don't have really the time to role play anymore. I quit that after high school, but I still wanted that escape. I still needed a healthy escape to enhance my life. And board games are a neat package for that. If I only got half an hour, this game takes half hour. If I got 4 hours, well, let's set the table up on Saturday, make some chicken, and crack open some beers and play all day long.
Right.
You can kind of throttle how much escape you need at the time, and I think adults just don't do enough escape anymore. Or if they do, it's not really healthy escape.
You're absolutely right. I don't think a lot of our society leaves room for play.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Play is seen as something childish, and it's seen as something infantile. Whereas exercising your imagination and like pushing the limits of your mind is only going to make you a more rich human being.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah, I think
Seriously.
that's a huge part of like trying to get your friends into board games, where it's just like, it's for kids. I don't need to play Sorry or Monopoly anymore or Trouble, because that's like what I think about when people are like, you want to play a board game.
Yeah.
It's those ones that you were playing as a kid and you're like, nah, man, I don't need to play Hungry Hippos.
No.
Yeah, those games are more too like not really even a game. They're more of an exercise. You don't get many choices.
Sure.
You don't use your imagination like you said, or have any strategy. And they associate that with gaming. It's like no, you get to actually make some meaningful choices and get rewards. And my children are ahead of the curve in every way possible because of board games. It teaches critical thinking skills.
Right.
Sure.
In a fun way.
I just think, just think about it for a minute. Think about everyone outside of these walls right now at this convention. Most of them, kind of boring people. I'm going to say 85% of them, pretty boring. But here, it's full of people who are just so interested in like these wide varieties of topics. Here, mostly video games, but you can see some cosplay going on that might not be related.
I mean, I'm sure your booth in the back here, in the back corner, if you guys get a chance, it's just back here. But I'm being here all day, seeing this board game booth right behind us.
It's extremely tempting.
It's tempting for me, but their shelves are getting cleared out to the point where they had everything like slotted in, and now they've had to turn them out so that they're taking up more shelf space.
Oh yeah.
Like they're selling like hotcakes. So these are the type of people that you do want to hang out with, and because now it's just like, let's all get together and drink beer at a bar, and that's like hanging out. And it's
you want to talk about inclusion too. There are not a lot of people give gamers a bad name. But I don't think I've met a more inclusive group at the same time as being toxic. You only see the toxic ones. You don't pay attention to the ones who are super inclusive and really take the time to bring you in and try to establish friendship. I don't think I've had one bad experience with another human being at this place. And I'll tell you, that's rare.
Yeah.
Variety is the spice of life for sure. We have, there's a lot of the games back there. I got games that take 8 hours to play. And they're historically accurate. I might do that once in a while, but I also got drinking rules for every game we got too. So if you want to drink your beer and get going and have a really fun time later,
that's a party.
We can do that too.
Sure, I might actually do that.
Has anyone ever come into your booth like first thing in the morning and been like, "Where's your 8-hour game? Because I want to sit here all day and play."
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Really?
Absolutely.
That's wild. That is wild.
It gets a growing from me, even as the guy who owns the games.
I mean, definitely there's someone in there that's been playing pinball nonstop since 8 o'clock this morning or whatever.
I had an ex-boss who had come to this just to play pinball.
Cool.
You were talking about growing up, getting really into it. There had to be one game that really locked it in for you, really blew your mind, because otherwise you wouldn't have this level of passion for it.
You didn't start with Dungeons and Dragons, right?
So there's this mass market game. I have a copy of it here. It's kind of hard to find nowadays, called Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really big box. It's a board. I was a little kid. I was playing it with my aunts and uncles one night, and it's got a fake. You got the little ships, and the ships have magnets on their smokestacks. These little plastic ships, and you go around the board trading goods to different ports. But there's a spinner, and the spinner controls this giant plastic cloud like this. That's the Bermuda Triangle cloud, and as you spin it, you the board has a grid on it, and it tells you where to slide it, and you turn the cloud at the same time you slide it. And if it passes over your ships, there's certain magnets hidden in the cloud. It'll suck your ships up, and then the cloud goes over, and your ship is gone and has disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. Cool. And I thought it was so cool.
That's a piece of art at the same time. We were been gushing over this. a lot of the reasons that we like the board games that we like, again, trying to figure out, do you judge the book by its cover? Because we've been looking at like, oh, look at all the artwork that's on these, but like that's like a interactive sculpture. That's really cool.
It blew my mind. I was like, oh, it was like magic. It was like, holy cow, my ship. And sometimes the cloud goes over and the magnets don't touch the ship, so it's safe. And I just couldn't. Like, oh my gosh, I was just so enthralled in it as a little kid. It was really cool. And the art is cool too. The ships, it shows the ships going on, the waves and stuff. Right. So,
I don't know, man. Have you played Mousetrap? Pretty cool.
Mousetrap was cool too as a kid.
It never worked.
I never played Mousetrap. I always set it up and just let it do its thing.
And it worked for you?
I mean, it was. And
I've never had a situation where it worked.
Legos or Kinects or something like that, where you just put it together and play with it, but not actually play the game. I don't know how to play that game, but I played it, I guess.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So,
what's up?
What's next?
Let's talk about Euro rules.
Oh, that's back to the...
I just don't even know what that is, so I was avoiding it.
We're trying to segue into that, and this is the best job of me doing it.
Got it. So, 10, 15 years ago is when board games, strategy designer games kind of started to surface. Catan, Settlers of Catan, you heard that, right?
Yeah.
That really kind of is the grandfather game that came over from Europe and has that kind of rule set. On your turn, you can do this or this. And that's it. It's clean, it's simple.
It's a hex game, yeah.
And the strategy lies within how you do those things. Carcassonne is another one. You draw a tile, you place a tile. That's literally your turn, and maybe you put a guy on top of the tile you place. And that's it. And then the strategy comes from where you place the tile, and that's it. Sounds really boring, but those are some pretty fun games. They're very casual, having a beer, sitting around, and they're not high-intensity games. A lot of people like that stuff, and it's a really great place to start. So the Europeans kind of pioneered a lot of the designer games and those kind of those rule sets, as opposed to what we call Ameritrash games that has a lot of rules, and you throw a lot of dice, there's a lot of luck. Dudes on a map, a lot of guys to kill.
What makes it? What makes them a little more accessible, or easier, or better?
Just that lack of a giant rule set, where you only can do this on your turn, so everyone understands. Oh, I got to pick a tile, and I place a tile, and that's all I can do. Everyone can understand that mindset, but they get the choices. There's a lot of choices in where to place the tile. So it feels like you're really doing something.
Like a Mancala or a backgammon, something a little more simple.
There's some strategy there, but it's super simple. But it's deeper than that. And there's a theme wrapped around it, too. Like you're building the city of Carcassonne in medieval times and stuff. Whereas the other games are just too many concepts going on at once. Or like the really old games, like you mentioned Sorry and stuff like that. Those really aren't games. Those are more like exercises. You roll a dice, you move a thing.
Candyland.
Or you draw a card in Monopoly, and it just happens to you. You don't get a choice. There's some choices, but it's more of an exercise.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So, closing this out a little, what is the most popular game going right now?
Most popular game going right now. It's a hard question because with the COVID stuff, we haven't been out a lot, and you might know that there's a lot of cargo ships out there with board games on them waiting to be delivered, just sitting in the harbor not being delivered.
Getting moldy.
Yeah, totally.
On the salty sea air.
Yeah. Right now, a hot game is called Oath. I haven't played it yet. I just picked up my copy. What else did I recently get Kickstarter-wise that's really hot? There's a game called Azul, which again is a tile laying game.
Oh, cool.
It's a really pretty ceramic tiles. It's a beautiful game, but it's a tile laying game. I think those are pretty hot right now. I should know these kind of things. Really, I should. I own 3,000 board games. I should know.
Whenever someone's like, Dylan, what kind of games do you recommend? I just go,
right.
I clam up. Yeah. Is there anything that you really wanted to pontificate while you were up here on the stage? Something that you really wanted to, gospel on the hill?
So my big thing always is this: don't overestimate your audience. There's a lot of gamers that get really excited. Board gamers, tabletop gamers. I don't know about video gamers, but tabletop gamers are really super into what they want, and they're convinced everyone has a board game that you could convert them with.
Right.
You know, and they're really passionate about it, and they really think that anyone should love games, and some people don't love games, and that's okay. You don't have to be a pusher. Don't force games on people, and don't overestimate the skill level of people or their interest level in games. Sometimes a simple dice game will do, and they don't want to learn your game that it even has Euro rules where there's only 3 things. It just might not be the right time to do those kind of things. And man, tabletop gamers are sure that there's a game for everybody out there, and I'm going to find it for you and make you join my hobby. And that I see a lot of that kind of game bullying, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of it's like being a sommelier. You gotta edge people into it. You gotta figure out what they want and go for it. Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for having me.
This was great.
Course,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Follow us on all the socials. Actually, Dom is really good at this. He
Yeah,
do
you
them
can
all.
find us at Facebook and Instagram at Hair of the Dogcast, Hot Dogcast on Twitter. We also have a Patreon if you guys are interested in subscribing to that. Hair of the Dogcast. Yeah. Thanks. Love you, Kip.
We love you, bud.
Where can they find you?
Milcog.com, and do Facebook search for Milwaukee Company of Gamers.
Cool.
Do you guys have a specific location that you guys operate out of, or?
I live in Muskego, and we got a facility out there that we're in the middle of remodeling. We used to have game days every weekend, and
Sure.
it's a little run down, so we're stripping it down and re-drywalling it and stuff like that. So we'll be back up and running maybe by summer.
Cool.
Yeah, so keep up with them. If you're interested at all, he's a very nice guy, very welcoming. Get in on it, man.
Where can they find you at the convention right here? Just in the back corner, right?
Yeah, we're in the very back corner over that way. I don't know what cardinal directions we are here, but we're in the farthest corner that you can be
That'd
from
be
here.
northeast.
We're in the
Yeah.
northeast corner. Stop by the library, check out a game, ask for recommendations.
Yeah, they
I
got-
will even teach you games.
Yeah, I don't know if you brought all 3,000 of your games, but it sure looks like they're all over there. So if there's something you guys might be interested in, go check it out.
It's really dope.
They got a lot of stuff over there.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, guys, thanks a lot.
All right.
Catch you later, Dogcasters.